A month passed since William arrived in Lant. Morgan had only stayed for a week before leaving the Helen Kingdom. Anna sat on a chair while knitting clothes for her eldest son, Matthew. William was lying on a thick carpet beside her, accompanied by the Angorian goat, Ella. I'm glad that William is a well-behaved child, Anna thought, as she glanced at the baby who was currently drinking Ella's milk. Little did she know that this well-behaved child was busy planning for his future. 5 days after William arrived in Lant, the small baby finally gained enough experience points to level up. This trigger prompted William's soul to have a complete recovery and allowed him to regain consciousness. At first, William was confused. For a brief moment after waking up, he thought that he was born as a goat. He almost panicked and cried out. Fortunately, his mouth was firmly sucking the goat's udders, which prevented him from making a scene. It didn't take long before he calmed down and started to observe his surroundings. After a few days, he was finally able to get a gist of the current situation and put his mind at ease. Daily quest. Drink milk has been completed. Rewards. 5 EXP points. Current XP. 125-200. After having his fill, William softly patted his mama Ella to tell her that he was done drinking her milk. Aya. Mama, thank you. Me. Aya. Can we go outside? The goat lightly shook its head and licked William's forehead. Seeing that it was impossible to convince his mama to take a stroll outside the house, William just focused on the things that he could do, and that was to check his status page. Aya. Status. Name. William von Ainsworth. Race. Half-elf. Hit points. 5. Mana. 10. Job class. None. Subclass. None. Strength. 0. Agility. 0. Vitality. 1. Intelligence. 2. Dexterity. 0. Skills. None. Titles. None. Available stat points. 6. Available skill points. 0. I wonder how I can get a job class, William thought. Still, according to the light novels I read, magicians are treated in high regard. Should I go for the magician route and put all my stats to it? Suddenly, William remembered another story that he had read while he was still alive. If I choose to become a magician, then I might be called a genius, William mused. I can't let that happen. Geniuses are treated as stepping stones by the protagonists. I need to remain low-key and surprise them when they least expect it. This is the common template for successful reincarnators and transmigrators. After careful thought, William decided to hold his stat points for now and just use them in the future. He believed that as long as he played his cards right, he would be a winner in life. A year passed as William lived the life of a baby. Although his life revolved around sleeping, pooping, talking to his mama Ella, and drinking milk, the boy who had only lived for 18 years in his past life was looking forward to a bright future. In that 1 year of drinking milk, William had gained 4 levels. Name, William von Ainsworth. Race, half-elf. Hit points, 10. Mana, 15. Job class, none. Subclass, none. Strength, 0. Agility, 0. 1. Vitality, 1. Intelligence, 2. Dexterity, 0. Skills, none. Titles, none. Available stat points, 12. Available skill points, 0. Current XP, 184, 1,366. I gained a few stat points for free as my body grows older. William burped. Perhaps this is also one of Gavin's blessings. Still, I wish I could find a way to get more experience points and get a job class. The day passed like every other day inside the Ainsworth Manor. After dinner, Anna carried William to their bedroom. Ella followed behind her. The moment William entered the Ainsworth household, Ella treated him like her own child. You can even say that she was William's second mother in this world. Wherever William went, the Angorian goat followed. The couple made a comfortable place for Ella and William at the corner of the room. The baby and his mama goat laid on top of thick and comfortable carpets. Ella liked to keep William close to her, and not even Anna and Mordred could take William away from her without her permission. Around midnight, William suddenly woke up from his slumber. He could feel something warm on his chest, so he decided to investigate. His small hands picked up the source of that warm feeling and looked at it closely. The black ring hanging on his necklace glowed in the darkness. What's going on? William thought as he observed the glowing ring in his hand. The ring is getting warmer. Suddenly, William was almost blinded by a brilliant flash of light that came from the ring. When the light faded, the baby William found himself in an unfamiliar place. The air smelled damp and it made him feel uncomfortable. New N0VEL chapters are published on N0 Volte, N9, Coam. William crawled on all fours and scanned his surroundings. The ground was coarse and stone walls lined both sides. On the ceiling hung small stalactites which made him realize that he was no longer inside his Uncle Mordred's and Aunt Anna's bedroom. William was a half-elf which gave him dark vision. Even in the dark he would be able to see things clearly. But what the hell? William's body shivered as he saw three creatures slowly approaching him from the front. They had dark green skin and uttering guttural sounds that were hard to decipher. The three creatures were a meter tall and wearing only rags on their lower half. Even so, William didn't need to be a language expert to know what they were and what they were thinking. Goblins. William wanted to run away, but he was just a year-old baby that just learned how to crawl. Escape! I must escape! He tried to move his body, but he was frozen in place due to fear. Crush Shaka! Shaka Raktu! Zito! The three goblins rushed towards William while waving the clubs in their hands. Uwa! William cried out loud. No! Stay away! Mama! The goblins struck down on the crying child with their clubs without a shred of mercy. This was not the first time that they had seen a human child. In their eyes, this little creature was only good as food for their young. Me? An Angorian goat charged at the three goblins in fury. Its red horns glistened in a reddish hue and pierced the chest of one of the goblins. It then delivered a kick to the other goblin, sending it slamming towards the wall. Unfortunately, the third goblin reacted in time and evaded. It then performed a counterattack and slammed its wooden club at the Angorian goat's back. Me! Ella bleated in pain, and the goblin took that opportunity to rain down more blows on his body. The goblin that was pierced to the chest by Ella's horn was still alive, and it propped itself up while holding its chest. The other goblin, who was slammed on the wall, joined its comrade in bashing the goat in a mad frenzy. Blood spilled out of Ella's mouth as the club hit the side of her face. Wah! Ma! William cried. He could only watch helplessly as the three goblins bashed his mama to death with their clubs. After taking too many beatings, Ella finally dropped down on the ground. Me! The goat called out to William, as if telling him to run away. Wah! Mama! William saw his mama Ella's fur stained in blood. The side of her face was also bloody, and two of her legs seemed to be broken. The Angorian goat struggled to get up, but the goblin kicked it out of anger. While the two goblins took turns in kicking the fallen goat, the third goblin, who had been pierced in the chest by Ella's horn, had approached William during the commotion. It didn't take long before the crying William saw the goblin by his side. Kra! The goblin screamed and struck down. He wanted to kill the human baby so badly in order to vent out the anger it was feeling. William could only watch as the wooden club descended upon him. A cry of pain followed the strike, and the ground was stained in fresh blood as the wooden weapon hit its target with a vengeance. Gua! The goblin was sent flying a few meters away from William's location. The blood on its chest gushed forth and stained the ground in a greenish hue. Two more shrieks filled with pain followed suit. The two goblins who had been bashing the Angorian goat were also sent flying a few meters away from the fallen beast. All three goblins lost consciousness, which made the surroundings very quiet. William snapped out of his daze and hurriedly crawled towards his mama Ella. He didn't even glance at the floating wooden staff in the air that saved his and his mama's life. Iya! Aya, mama. My mama Ilium hugged Ella's bloody head and cried. Me! Ella bleated. Blood was spilling at the side of her face and her eyes. Sensing that William was beside her, she licked the baby's cheeks before lowering her head to the ground. The Angorian goat had received severe injuries and was on the verge of dying. William kept on crying while holding onto Ella's bloody head. He didn't care that his clothes were stained with blood. The goat's coat had blood all over, and he could feel that her life was slowly ebbing away. Wah! Mama, don't leave me! Ooh-ah! As William cried, he felt something softly tapping his cheeks. As he turned his head, he saw the wooden staff floating by his side. Go away, you wah! William swatted the wooden staff. Due to the event that just transpired and the strong smell of blood that permeated the air, the baby William was not able to think properly. This was the first time he experienced such a brutal event in his 2 lives, and it made his brain lose reason. As his hand touched the handle of the wooden staff, a small ringing sound resounded inside his head. The sound brought with it a calming effect, which allowed him to regain some clarity of mind. Although he was still somewhat deranged from fear and sorrow, he was able to read the row of words that appeared in front of him. Would you like to acquire the shepherd job class? Yes, no. The baby looked blankly at the glowing words in front of him. It took a few seconds before the words registered inside William's head. I choose yes. Congratulations. Host has acquired the shepherd job class. Host has learned skill, way of the shepherd. Host has learned skill, bestow. Host has learned skill, first aid. William's attention locked on the newly acquired skill, first aid. He didn't waste any time and immediately read the skill's information. First aid, 5 mana points, heals 20 hit points, only work for creatures that belong to the herd. This skill cannot be upgraded. This is it. William knew that this skill was the thing he needed. He then glanced at his mama Ella and was surprised to see the goat status window. Name, Ella. Race, Angorian goat. Hit points, 5/100. Mana, 20/20. Strength, 2. Agility, 3. Vitality, 4. Intelligence, 2. Dexterity, 2. Skills, horn attack, stomp. Titles, none. Available stat points, 0. Available skill points, 0. Current XP, 100. Seeing that his mama Ella was indeed in a near-death condition, William touched the Angorian goat's head and said the skill out loud. Time was of the essence, and he couldn't afford to take things lightly. Aya! First aid! Aya! First aid! Aya! First aid! Aya! First aid! William repeatedly cast the skill until he felt his body grew heavy. He was also feeling a slight headache due to mana depletion. The goat's blood-stained coat was restored to its silky and fluffy appearance. Her broken legs snapped back in place, and Ella's bloody face returned to normal. The goat immediately stood up and licked William's face. The wet and warm tongue that he had grown accustomed to brought joy to the baby who had almost fallen into despair a few minutes ago. Mama! Me! William hugged the goat's neck while the latter closed her eyes in comfort. The two stayed like this for a full minute, before the peace was broken by the 2 goblins who had regained consciousness. Me! Ella stood in front of William. The Angorian goat pawed the ground as if preparing to attack the moment the goblins came within her strike range. William grimaced because he forgot that the battle was still far from over. He quickly looked at his status to check if any of the skills he had learned could turn the tide in their favor. Way of the Shepherd. Passive skill. Increase the stats of all creatures in the herd by 20%. This is good, but not good enough, William thought as he looked at the other skill he had learned. Bestow. 10 mana points. Bestows 10 to all stat points. Only work for creatures that belong to the herd. This skill cannot be upgraded. Discover new stories on noverazabin.com. Skill duration, 2 hours. William looked at his status and found out that he no longer had any mana points. After he acquired the Shepherd job class, his stats had improved greatly compared to last time. The lack of mana, though, made him feel uneasy. I have 12 available stat points, William thought. I'll put them all in intelligence and act as Mama Ella's support. Name, William Von Ainsworth. Race, half-elf. Hit points, 20/20. Mana, 260/280. Job class, Shepherd. Subclass, none. Strength, 0. Agility, 0/1. Vitality, 1/1. Intelligence, 14. Dexterity, 0. Skills. Way of the Shepherd, passive. Bestow. First aid. Titles, none. Available stat points, 0. Available skill points, 0. Current XP, 184, 1,366. Time to fight back. William placed his hand on the Angorian goat's coat and used his skill. Bestow. Ella's body glowed and grew larger. Normally her height was only a meter tall. However, after receiving William's bestowment, she became 1.5 meters tall, and the horns on her head glowed bloody red. Although it still looked like a docile and harmless goat, Its physical prowess had grown exponentially. Me! Ella bleated and charged towards the two goblins. Aside from gaining additional strength, it also became more intelligent. It knew that in order to protect William, it must take the initiative and deal with the two goblins as soon as possible. The goblins bellowed and charged at the goat with their wooden clubs held high. They were not afraid of human livestock. Since they had already defeated it once, they could easily defeat it again. When the two sides were only a few meters apart, Ella stomped hard on the ground and increased her speed. She caught the two goblins by surprise, which led to one of them to their immediate demise. Ella's horn glowed as it pierced the goblin's chest. This time, the horns penetrated the goblin's skin and tore towards the heart like a hot knife through butter. The goblin was only able to voice out a guttural death cry before it fell dead on the ground. Gained EXP points. 60. After killing the first goblin, the Angorian goat pressed both of its front hooves firmly on the ground as it used its hind legs to deliver a powerful kick aimed towards the second goblin's head. A cracking sound echoed in the cave as Ella's hooves shattered the goblin's skull. The second goblin shrieked in pain before falling down. The Angorian goat then raised its hooves and stomped on the goblin's face with bloodshot eyes. Gained EXP points 60. This was the goblin who had struck her body repeatedly, and Ella was hell-bent to smash its face to a pulp. After two hate-filled stomps, the goblin's face caved in, almost turning into meat paste. Ella grunted before turning her attention to the last goblin that had attempted to hit William with a wooden club. Although she hated the goblin who had beaten her up until she was near death, her hate for the goblin who tried to kill William had reached the extreme. The Angorian goat trotted towards the goblin. Ella knew that it was only playing dead so that it would be left alone. Unfortunately, it had touched her reverse scale. William and Ella had no intention of keeping the bastard alive. As if sensing that death was at hand, the goblin sprang to its feet and ran away in fear. It didn't care about the blood that was gushing out of its chest. The goblin knew that staying would only lead to its death. William watched the goblin while his hand moved to the space in front of him. After killing the two goblins, the Angorian goat had increased its job level. Since Ella was registered as part of William's herd, he had the ability to distribute her stat and skill points. One of the skills that had been unlocked after Ella gained a level was an attack skill called Quick Attack. It allowed the creature to increase its speed exponentially to deliver a blow to its enemy. William didn't hesitate and chose the skill. He didn't want to let the goblin escape because it might call for reinforcements. Aya! Aya! Mama! Use Quick Attack! The Angorian goat stomped on the ground and charged towards the fleeing goblin like an arrow in flight. A miserable shriek echoed inside the cave as Ella's bloody horns pierced through its back, impaling its heart. Gained EXP points 60. After making sure that the goblin was indeed dead, Ella returned to William's side and licked his cheeks. Not long after, the goblins turned into particles of light and disappeared. William was very happy that he was able to survive such a dangerous ordeal. He hugged his Mama Ella's neck as the adrenaline rush started to disappear from his system. Aya, let's go back. Mama, me. William touched the ring that was hanging on his neck. After gaining his job class, the appraisal skill was also unlocked. Because of this, he was able to learn the ring's special functions. With a brilliant flash of light, the baby and the goat disappeared from that dark and damp cave and returned to Mordred's and Anna's bedroom. After their near-death adventure, the baby and the goat immediately fell asleep. William only woke up when Anna bathed him while he was asleep. "What's wrong, little baby?" Anna pinched the baby's disgruntled, chubby cheeks. "Did I interrupt your sleep?" Yes. Oh, what a cute little boy you are," Anna cooed as she scrubbed William's body with a soap. "Don't worry. You can go back to sleep after I bathe you." Anna playfully tickled the baby's armpits. To her surprise, the baby actually giggled, which made her continue her teasing. Ella woke up due to William's giggling. However, seeing that Anna was taking care of him, the goat closed her eyes to sleep. Although William had healed her injuries, she was still exhausted after that skirmish with the goblins. After William finished bathing, Anna wrapped him in a clean cloth. She then placed him beside Ella so that he could drink her milk. The baby had long gotten used to his routine and immediately helped himself to his Mama Ella's milk. Daily quest: drink milk has been completed. Reward 6 EXP points. Current EXP: 365, 1366. Shepherd LVL1. Job XP 86, 200. My experience points increased by 1 point? William thought as he looked at the experience points he gained after his daily quest. This might be the effect of Gavin's blessing. If I remember correctly, he said that after gaining a job class, I will get a 20% increase in experience points. The little baby was quite happy with the gains he received from his first encounter with the goblins. However, he was still a bit scared at the thought of fighting goblins to gain more experience points. He came from a peaceful world. Although he had read many fantasy novels, experiencing it firsthand was different from reading a story. The ring that was hanging on his necklace had the ability to bring them to a dungeon. According to his appraisal, it was the Ring of Conquest. The description of the artifact stated that it allowed the user to go to a dungeon that had been recorded inside the ring. The name of the dungeon where they encountered the goblins was known as the Goblin Crypt. It had 20 floors and was considered as a Grade D dungeon. Just as the name suggests, the dungeon's inhabitants were mainly goblins. William shuddered when he remembered the gruesome creatures that had almost sent him back into the cycle of reincarnation. Let's see my skills first. Maybe I got something useful. William decided not to worry about the goblins for the time being. I gained 1 level in my job class. William was quite happy with this development and immediately opened the skill tree on his shepherd job class. There were 4 skills that were available. The first one was called Staff Mastery. Staff Mastery, passive. Increases damage of any staff-related weapons by 10%. This skill is actually not bad, William mused as he looked at the 3 available job points in his status screen. Let's read the other skills first before I make the final decision. Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Passive. Increases all stats of the herd by 1. This is a very good skill. William looked at the skill description with sparkling eyes. This would definitely help his Mama Ella increase her battle prowess. Magnum Burst. 5 mana points. Deals AoE damage up to 3 square meters around the caster. Damage dealt is equivalent to Strength X2. Knockback effect. Parry. Passive. Increased chances of parrying attack by 5%. Requirement. Only works for staff and pole-type weapons. 1 active and 3 passive skills, William thought. Getting the Magnum Burst is ideal because it gives me an offensive skill. As for the others, they are more of a support-type skill. After careful consideration, William decided to pick Magnum Burst and Wolf in Sheep's Clothing from the list. He placed 1 skill point on the offensive skill and 2 skill points in the supportive skill. William knew that if he would challenge the dungeon again, he would be relying on his Mama Ella's help most of the time. Strengthening the support skill to help Mama Ella would ensure his safety. As for the offensive skill, it would be his last resort when things got out of hand. I need to add points to my strength when I level up. Now time to check Mama Ella's status window. Race, Angorian Goat. Hit points, 100, 100. Mana, 20, 20. Strength, 2. Agility, 3. Vitality, 4. Intelligence, 2. Dexterity, 2. Available stat points, 2. Available skill points, 2. Current EXP, 8200. William noticed that his Mama Ella's current EXP was the same as his. Without pondering for long, the baby immediately placed 2 stat points on Ella's agility. He deemed that the faster his Mama Ella moved, the greater her chance for dodging the enemy's attack. He didn't want to see her dying in front of him. William would definitely do everything in his power to make sure that his Mama Ella would grow strong. After placing the stat points, he immediately checked the goat's skill tree to see if there were any decent skills available. William didn't know how beasts go stronger in this world. He didn't even know if they could evolve like the ones he saw on TV when he was still back on Earth. However, when he opened Ella's skill tree, he found out that there were 2 paths that he could choose from. The first path was the strength path. If William were to choose this path, Ella would become a creature that would heavily rely on physical strength. The other was called the spirit path. This allowed creatures to form a magic core inside their body. The magic core's function was to help the creature harness the magic power in its environment. Based on William's experience, creating a hybrid would not necessarily make Ella stronger. It might even greatly weaken her in the long run. Let's go with the strength path for now, William decided. Let's just use the might over magic strategy in the early game. We can choose the spirit path when we reach the end game. Steel armament, quick attack, and horn assault, William mused while looking at the three options. Steel armament, 5 mana points. Make the creature's horn and hooves as hard as steel. This skill cannot be upgraded. Quick attack, 5 mana points. Charges at the enemy with incredible speed. The speed of this attack will depend on the agility stat X3. Horn assault, 5 mana points. Deals a powerful blow to the enemy. May cause the target to flinch. Damage is based on the strength stat X2. William picked the steel armament without a second thought. The horn and hooves were his Mama Ella's main weapons. If it were strengthened, then it would definitely improve her fighting prowess. Let's put the other point on quick attack for now. I'll get horn assault later after Mama Ella increases her level. With this, I am confident that we will be able to handle a one-on-one battle with a goblin. William had seen how Ella handled the 3 injured goblins after he cast the Besto skill on her. Although he wasn't 100% sure, he was confident that Ella wouldn't lose to a goblin if she fought it one-on-one. Even after he made all the necessary preparations, William was still uncertain if he should go back inside the dungeon. At the end of the day, he was still a 1-year-old baby with the mental age of an 18-year-old boy. For William, he could visit the dungeon when he was a bit older and ensure that both he and Ella wouldn't be in any danger. However, the temptation of becoming stronger at such a young age was too hard to resist. I guess I'll discuss this with Mama Ella first, William sighed. If she thinks that it is too dangerous, then I'll wait till I grow a few years older before we challenge the dungeon again. As if waiting for that exact moment, the sleeping goat finally woke up and licked William's face. Aya. Good morning, Mama. Me. Aya. Mama, there's something important that I would like to talk about. Me. Aya. It's about this. While the baby and the goat were having a heart-to-heart talk, Mordred had already left the house to handle the things within their estate. Anna, on the other hand, was cooking their lunch, while the maids did the other chores inside the house. Home sweet home, a booming voice sounded from outside the house. Master, you are finally back. A maid bowed as he greeted the man who swaggered into the house with a big smile on his face. The man had gray hair and above-average looks that would make any teenage girl on earth call him Sugar Daddy. His flawless smile made the maid blush as he nodded to her with a smile. I heard that my grandson is here, the old man said. Where is he? Master, if you are talking about young Lord Matthew, he is currently in the study with his teacher. Should I call for him? I'm not talking about Matthew. I'm talking about my other grandson. The maid nodded in understanding. Little William is currently inside Lady Anisand S.R. Mordred's bedroom. All right. Return to your duties. The man waved his hand and headed straight to the second floor where the resting quarters were located. Aya. What do you think, Mama? Me. While William was waiting for his Mama Ella's reply, an unknown man burst into the bedroom. Ah, you are, you little critter. The man laughed as he grabbed William off the carpet and raised him high up in the air. You are definitely my grandson. That red hair and those green eyes of yours remind me of your father and mother. William smacked the unknown man on the face with his little chubby fist, but the latter only laughed. Ha ha ha! You are indeed a true Ainsworth, so small and yet so brave. The man nodded in appreciation. Listen to me, little brat. I am your grandpa. Grandpa, say grandpa. Aya. Yeah, no, take this. Sprinkle of water splashed on the man's face. William's giggle resounded inside the bedroom as his grandpa looked at him with a complicated expression. After a few seconds, the man roared and joined the baby in his laughter. This was the scene that Anna saw when she returned to the bedroom. Their maid had informed her that her father-in-law had returned from his trip. She was mildly surprised when the old man went to look for William first instead of looking for her husband, Mordred. Anna covered her lips and chuckled at the funny scene in front of her. Her piss-stained father-in-law was laughing with the giggling baby in his hands. Father, you finally returned, Anna greeted after recovering her composure. Ah, Anna, I'm back, James, Mordred's and Morgan's father replied with a smile. This brat sure is feisty. William is normally a well-behaved child. Anna grinned. This is the first time I'm seeing his mischievous side. Well, boys tend to be mischievous, James agreed. Also, Ella, stop poking me with your horns. Hey, I said stop. Ella was stomping her foot on the floor while poking James with her horns. She was very upset about how James was treating her baby. If not for the fact that the one who raised her was this man, she would have already impaled him with her horns using her full strength. Ella has been taking care of William ever since he arrived, Anna explained. I think she treats him as her own child. Father, please return William to Ella, or else she might really have a go with you. Me? Oh, you. I just left for a year and you've already forgotten how I raised you. What an ungrateful goat you are. James snorted, but a smile hung on his lips. Fine, I'll take a bath first. You look after this brat for me. James handed William to Anna and left the room while humming a tune. Clearly, he was in a good mood. Baby! Anna lightly pinched William's chubby cheeks. That is your grandpa. Don't pee on him, okay? Aya, I'll think about it. Although this was the first time that William had met his grandpa James, he found the old man to his liking. Of course, James didn't look old. In fact, he only looked like a middle-aged man that was still in his prime. William was looking forward to knowing more about his family in this life and prayed that he would be able to get along with all of them.